Hello, greetings everyone. Welcome again to this new course as we continue to explore the elementary elements of our graphic designing. In the previous lesson, we discovered the dot and then the line. So we learned that we could use a dot to make line, and they are the basic elements of any shape. We learned mainly that a dot can grow into a line and so on. And a line can be used to form what we call shapes. So basically, lines combine to form what we call two-dimensional shapes. And two-dimensional shapes can be combined to make objects. So for example, we could use our rectangle above here to create a cup, just like we did earlier on. So let me bend this one a bit. So you can see we use the shape to come up with a cup, and we could use the same shape like the circle, like we did earlier on, to make another cup. And like we said the other time, the lines come in different versions. So either dotted or straight like this. We can also have zigzag lines, or we could also have curved lines. So in this situation, we used curved lines like here. We used straight lines like this, and then we zigzag the lines like the cup handle here. So all these elements, these three elements so far, can be used to achieve a lot of things. So when we form shapes like this, we form them in order to give them meaning. Each one of these shapes evokes different feelings in human beings. Although these feelings could differ from one individual to another, still, shapes give us some feelings. It doesn't matter how we feel, depending on our culture and our background and our knowledge. So when you take, for example, a square or a rectangle like this, it usually symbolizes stability, strength, containment, and security. And a triangle like this, a pyramid like this, usually symbolizes growth, right? And a circle like this shows also some kind of security, growth, expansion, smoothness, creativity, and endlessness. So you see, depending on where you stand and depending on the culture and your background and knowledge, for somebody who has never done graphic design, who has never studied designing, this might not mean the same thing to them. And from one culture to another culture, these shapes usually have a different meaning. So it is important we actually learn to recognize at least these basic shapes. From these basic shapes, we can grow it into any other object. So in the previous lessons, we learned how to draw. Using these shapes, if you study these drawings very well, you could realize that we actually use these shapes, these three basic shapes, to do the drawing. And many can be done, especially when we start to add colors and so on, and applying our principles and rules in drawings and then design. So for example, I will try to redraw these cups again and see what we can get. So I'll clear my board, and then first of all bring the three shapes here. So I'll bring the square, make the stroke 4. Then I'll bring the circle, keep it straight as well. So to get a straight circle like this, you press shift while you are drawing. You hold shift key on your keyboard, and then I can use the same square to make up my triangle by removing some angles. and I get a triangle. So I just have to rotate it. Yes, I don't know where's the head again. So something like that. And use this to increase it, make of it any triangle I want. So the base is not straight. So we can have our basic shapes like this. So what I'm thinking of doing right now is to use them to make our drawing. So I will use this one for the cap, right? Then use another one again. This time around I'll reduce it in height, right? And then use the same square again, bring it aside here. This time around reduce it in height somewhere here and reduce in width, and then end up with a cap handle. So you could just arrange it the way you want for it to look better. So if I decide to have it in double, I could just duplicate it, reduce it in height. I didn't duplicate, so I have to take it out, then reduce in height, shift it down a bit to get it equally aligned, and then reduce in width as well a little bit, and now push it inside. So these basic shapes can be used to make up any art we want without worrying ourselves too much. So, and like I said in the previous lessons, it is about defining the principles of your design. So although we have general rules and general principles in designing, anything you are about to design, you have to come up with your own rules and regulations. So for this design, I'm going to make things like that. I'm going to keep things like that. I'm going to stay black and white. I'm going to stick with only green, and everything shadow must be darker green, and so on and so forth. So you have to come up with this rule and then get on it. So we do the same thing with a circle. For example, I bring a circle here, right? And then I shrink it like this. So I get the top of the cap. So let me get it at the same level like this. Then I get another circle like this. So this is going to look a bit strange, so because I have to break this circle a bit. So that's where I go for the selection tool like this and shift it up, and then take this guy this way, shift this one a bit down. So I'm not getting the circle I'm looking for, so I have these guys, so I have to break this one down and shift this one a bit down. Yes, there are easier ways. I could have just added some anchors and then got it right. So I'll keep it curved a little bit. So I think the other side wasn't kept, so we close it. We'll bring it like that. So the same thing, I could also make the base as a circle like this, right? I could make the base as a circle like this, and now instead of having a circle here, I just use another rectangle like this. So let me remove the other circle for us to see very well. So something like that. So you can see, and then we get another cap, and then I'll also use the circle here again. I'll use it at the middle, so reduce the size proportionally, keep it at the middle. So for example, this could be your design principle. I keep the circles like that. It should always cross, and then so on. So in my case, I won't do that. I'll just flatten, sorry, I have to delete it. So like this, and then use my direct selection tool and bring it down like this. So we get a cap again, and this time around we have a triangle, so the same game can go on. Basically, we can use these shapes to come up with any drawing, and whenever you look at any artwork, you always come up with these things. For example, if you are to make a banner like the one we did previously, the first thing we did was to have a canvas in the form of a rectangle. It was inside that rectangle we actually made our artwork. So somehow, either you like it or not, these shapes are always everywhere. and it is important you have a meaning to them in whatever you are doing. For example, when you are drawing a logo and then you decide to put the logo in a circle, it means you are thinking of the meaning of the circle, or you should always consider the meaning of that circle when you are putting the logo. It shouldn't go off topic. So circle, progress, life, completeness, the earth form. These are the things, and connectivity. These are the things you have to think of. Growth, it is important that you have this meaning in mind, and then once you are using it, or anytime you are using it, you always think of associating these meanings to whatever you are producing. Right? So it is important for you to look at these shapes. So thank you for watching this video, and see you in the next lesson.